All right, track wrestling here at the U.S. Olympic Training Center with USA Wrestling Greco-Roman coach Matt Lindland. Matt, I guess first of all, a couple years ago, I remember doing a story, freelance story about you guys and what you guys had gone through for some unique team building exercises. What have you done on that front this year? Have you done anything like that this year?
Boy, we had an amazing camp out in Oregon, in my hometown, Eagle Creek, Oregon. We went out there. One of our donors and dear friend of mine, Jay Weston, owns Weston GMC and Weston Kia, invited us out to his property. He's got a big mansion that has a strength facility inside of it, and on the other side of his property, about 3 miles away, he's got a huge mountain cabin that sits right on Eagle Creek. We did stand-up paddleboarding the first day. Then the second day in between training sessions, we got out and did some sniper rifle shooting. Desert Tech was one of our other sponsors, brought the ammunition, brought the guns. So we had a really good time on that. The next day we went up rafting. That was our recovery day. We got some whitewater paddling in, and some of these guys, it's not a lot of recovery because they're actually using their core, and they end up really getting a lot of exercise out of it. But it was great. It was good to get these athletes out of their comfort zone, face their fears. I mean, when you tell me it's time to go whitewater rafting, I'm the first guy out the door. These guys were kind of dragging their feet, and I just couldn't figure it out why. And then afterwards, they all came clean. They were scared to death, but rightfully so. It was pretty high water. One of my friends and attorney, Rick Franklin, was gonna paddle along as a safety boater. He brought his kayak, and I saw how much dust he still had on that kayak. I asked him when the last time. He said, "Oh, I think it was 2 years ago when you were here." I said, "Rick, that had to be 4 years ago. If you ain't been in that boat in 4 years, you're getting in my raft. I'll run safety from my boat." And we had a really great experience. Did some more training. Our daily training consists of morning runs, whether it was short hill sprints, a longer run up hills, or just out for a nice 40-minute run in the mountains, in the wilderness. Getting into nature, getting in touch with your creator and the surroundings, I mean, it's just really good for your soul. And so, you know, living for 2 weeks on the river, we also had a stream that goes underneath the house between the two foundations. There's actually a creek that goes between the house. It drops into the main channel of the creek. That's after you can get out of the sauna and go cold plunge and there's a waterfall there. And our big recovery day was up in Bull of the Woods, Mount Hood National Forest. We went up. It's a 2.5-mile hike into the woods. And up there, it's called Bagby Hot Springs, and we soaked in the hot tubs, and we found some more waterfalls. There's a lot of waterfalls in the Northwest. We're kind of known for waterfalls out there. So, cold, hot therapy out there in the mountains. We came back, and I believe that was the evening the guys went out on. It's a boat that's it's called a jet sled. So if you're not from the Northwest, you might not be real familiar with it. Some people they've been up to Dells, Washington, have seen these same boats. They're actually the boats that are built in Oregon and Washington. So they're Northwest companies that build these boats. They're flat bottom boats. They do 70 miles an hour on the water with 40 people in it. Well, we only had 8 guys on our team, so those things cook and they spin around. They do 360s, and on top of that, they went to see downtown Portland and the fireworks displays. Oh man, we aviated. Took some private planes, did some aviating out there. I know I'm forgetting some of the activities we did, but a lot of fun stuff in between training sessions. So, like I said, our morning runs consisted of, whether they were sprints or the longer runs, and then we had our physical conditioning in the midday, which was just circuit training, a lot of positional wrestling drills, conditioning, bands. We use a lot of Suples, which is one of our big sponsors for USA Wrestling. So Suples and Ivan Ivanov gives us some programming. He gives us the tools. I didn't actually bring that stuff out from training center, but I also own a lot of that equipment and myself at my gym at Team Quest. Oh, not to mention we did a couple of mixed martial arts workouts over at my gym in Oregon. And we also were able to give back to the community and provide a seminar. So all in all, outstanding base conditioning training for 2 weeks. Lots of team building, lots of fun activities to get the guys out. I want guys to know when they come to training camp, they don't want to miss it, because there's going to be something fun that's going to happen, and we're going to do some more things. This last round of training camp we're going to have out here at the end of July and early August before we head to the Worlds. One of my mentors, Jack Stark, he'll be back out here. He's been working with my team as a sports psychologist. We're going to implement Unity Council, where these guys kind of they look after each other, and instead of coaches always having to say, "Hey, is that the right choice? Is that the good decision?" They're gonna do some peer-to-peer, counseling with one another. So we're gonna start implementing that. So, I mean, it really is. We talked about this earlier because I was new in this position. I'm trying to build a culture. I'm trying to change the culture. So yeah, I mean, we do a lot of that stuff. In our January camp, we talked about paddling the boat together in the same direction and moving forward, and a lot of momentum. And if everybody's putting their paddle in the water at the same time, we're all going in the same direction. We're going to get to our destination. And if somebody falls out of the boat, I mean, it's their job to self-rescue. If somebody falls out, they need to get themselves back in the boat. You can reach back, give them a hand, throw them a rope, but if they don't take it, we got to keep moving on. We got to keep moving forward. We're going to lose the race. We're not going to get to our goals. So we've used a lot of those rafting metaphors, and so to actually get the guys on the water was a lot of fun, and they really got to experience that and see the correlations of what I'm trying to talk about. Even on the 4th of July, I took a young group of junior world team members out. We did Browns Canyon here in Colorado. It's about 2 hours from the training center, and we ended up flipping a boat, and it was really because we didn't attack. We got into a really pretty big wave was coming at us, and I said, hey, when you see this wave, just attack it, and we'll make adjustments as you go. But they were paddling. They saw that wave. They froze. They hit the bottom of our boat. I had a 100-kilo guy come flying at me and knocking me over. I saw Wyatt Cooling go flying over my head. We gathered everybody up, got us back in the boat. It was a little bit of a shit show, but we made it work. we got ourselves in the boat. But we debriefed afterwards and talked about that as another one of those metaphors. It's like, I mean, you might be facing the Olympic champion, first round. I mean, what are you gonna do? Freeze? You're gonna go out there and you're gonna attack and figure it out as you're doing it, as you're pushing, you're using your legs, you're moving them, you got your hands on them. And then that's going to allow you to wrestle. You can't think about it. You don't have time to stop and contemplate what's going on when you're in the heat of the battle.
That 2-week training camp, what did you learn about your guys?
What did I learn about my guys in that that they're willing to work hard. They're willing to put the time in and work hard. I also learned that we need to be more disciplined, because there was moments where we're getting out there at 7 o'clock, and we had some guys that felt like other people should wait for them. Hey, if I'm 5 minutes late, no, we're all on time. We're all ready to go. You're holding us up. You're holding the progress of what we're trying to do moving forward. So I learned that I still got to teach these athletes what it means to be held accountable, what it means to be responsible, and just the expectations of a professional athlete. I mean, you have a lot of high expectations. You're expected to perform at a very high level, so everything you do has to be at a high level. You have to be disciplined. You have to have incredible structure, and if they don't, we should have consequences. There should be some kind of consequences that they face, and whether that's hurting them financially with their stipends, which I certainly don't want to do. They don't make enough money as it is, but they still have to be held accountable, whatever that is.
The interesting bunch, it seems, from my vantage point, that you got a quite a unique group of guys. Ildar with his history coming over from Uzbekistan, and then you've got Ellis, and becomes such a overnight sensation with the flying squirrel, and then Manville a year out of high school, and Cheney Haight thought he was done, back in it. And Robbie trying to break through and win a world medal. It seems like a pretty unique group.
Well, we have a pretty diverse group of guys. We have guys that are in their 30s, with families, and then we also have young men that are still in their teens and early 20s. 20-year-old men that are just starting to figure out what it takes for them to be responsible in their own life. And But we have good leadership. We have good leadership, guys like Robbie, guys like Ildar, that are in our program that, Robbie's that vocal leader, and last year, Andy was kind of the guy that, hey, if you want to see what it takes, just watch this guy. He didn't really speak much, and Ildar's kind of the same way. Structured, disciplined, shows up, works hard, but doesn't really get involved in other people. And I think that's something we need to change. We need to hold one another accountable instead of the coaches having to really say, here's what it takes, and doing all this training. I've trained. I've been 3 years with these athletes, and they understand my philosophy. They understand my expectations, and now, like I said, it's going to come down to holding them accountable.
How important is this year in terms of generating some momentum for the program throughout this quad?
Oh, I think it's every year's important. I don't know if this year's any less important. I mean, last year was an Olympic year, so I mean that was kind of the big one. But I think this year's critical. Just like any other year, we want to go out and we want to perform the best of our abilities. We have capable athletes that are capable of performing at a very high level in the World Championships in Paris this summer. So I expect big things out of them, but they have to prepare properly every time. There's no time for being late. Being late hurts your performance, hurts your training, because you want to do everything right. You want to have that discipline. You want to all the way through. It carries over. What you do off the mat carries over into what you do on the mat.
Yeah, attention to detail, stuff like that. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Big news here in the last couple of weeks. Gabe Dean making the announcement that he's going to go Greco. What do you see out of him in his future, and what challenges does he face here in the short term?
Yeah, well, I mean, Gabe Dean's an incredible human being that was a great college wrestler. He doesn't have a ton of Greco-Roman experience, but a couple years ago I took him to Santiago, Chile for the Pan Am Championships. He came away with a silver medal. What I see from Gabe is he's in it. He's one of those athletes that could be an example because he is such a great leader in his program at Cornell. Now he's a Cornell graduate. He has that structure. He has that discipline. The challenges that Gabe's going to have is the same challenges that anybody that hasn't spent time in a Greco-Roman system. They're going to have to learn the positioning. They're going to have to learn where they want their body. There's a big difference between the bent over F styles, freestyle, folk style. You're bent over at the waist. You're leaning. We need to be more upright. We need to get our hips underneath us. We need to create pressure with our legs. So just making those adjustments, that's going to take him a little time for sure. But talking to Gabe, he's willing to put the time and put the work in and do what it takes. He'll be out here for our camp, our final preparation camp, to help some of our guys and just to be around the team. And I think that was one of the big factors that Gabe making that decision was. He went with us on that trip. We've started a Greco-Roman program in Ithaca, New York, and he enjoys being around the Greco-Roman athletes and the team. He likes that fight, that battle, for sure. He's more of a grinder and a battler than a technician, and I think he feels like he can use that to his advantage at the world level.
Did that surprise you? Or did you see that one coming for a while?
It didn't surprise me. I mean, I did create a Greco-Roman Center of Excellence in Ithaca, New York. It operates out of Cornell, Finger Lakes Wrestling Club. We did create that, in the hopes that we would capture some guys like Gabe Dean and really Kyle Dake was another guy that we were interested in. Imagine if Kyle would have, when I came on board, if he would have jumped into Greco-Roman instead of stuck with a freestyle, maybe he'd be on a team by now, especially with Andy retiring. I don't know. I mean, it's I think a lot of guys overlook Greco-Roman because it's just not focused on in the United States, but it's really the most popular style worldwide. But we put a lot of emphasis on the freestyle and the folk style here in the United States as coaches, and I mean, frankly, there's just, I would say probably 90% of our coaches in this country, they're great coaches in folk style and freestyle or these other styles of wrestling, but they really don't understand the positioning and the techniques of Greco-Roman, and their lack of knowledge is they don't want to share it, they don't want to teach it, they don't want to get involved because they don't want to, ego keeps them from getting their guys involved in that style. And so I think we're always up against that challenge, and for me, being a coach, I can coach freestyle, I can coach folk style, Grecoroman. I've trained every discipline of martial arts. I mean, I've earned a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and I've been offered many black belts. I just haven't taken one, just because I feel like, for me, I'm not really interested in belts. I was a competitor, and I think the whole belting system's a little weird, and it's like, oh, I want to give you this. It's like, yeah, you know what? I've never really trained with you that often. I wouldn't feel comfortable receiving a black belt from you. I think there's a lot of, things about, maybe they want to, oh, I gave Matt his black belt or whatever. So I really just rather hold on and keep my brown belt and keep training and doing that kind of stuff. But, I've trained Muay Thai. I spent a lot of time in Thailand. I own a gym in Thailand still, in Chiang Mai. People look at that Thai boxing, and they think, it's punching here and kicking and knees, but you really start to understand Thai boxing. It's really head up, hips in, creating pressure with your legs, unbalancing your opponent, and then you have the luxury of throwing a knee or an elbow to the face as well, when they're out of position. But so it is a lot of pummeling, but you have to expose yourself to all martial arts, if you want to really be, a world-class coach. And I would say the same thing for a competitor. I don't think you want to dig too deep into the other martial arts, but I know when I was training as an athlete in '96, I spent a lot of time, playing judo, and then in '97 I took a few mixed martial arts fights, and I really kind of put those on the back burner until I accomplished my goals of winning world and Olympic medals. Then I dived a little deeper into that and started training all over the world, just to increase my knowledge of martial arts. And I think it's made me a much better coach, just knowing all styles of martial arts, whether it's a stand-up striking style or a ground fighting martial arts submission style of fighting. But everything's connected. The body only works in so many different directions. You can create angles, you can level change. I mean, those principles don't change, techniques change.
Some exciting stuff going on at the lower levels, the younger levels.
Just across the board, wrestlers are getting better. I mean, I don't know if I could have medaled if guys were this good when I was wrestling. And I was wrestling some pretty good guys, like a Squee and Iskandarian, and there was some really good guys, but the level of talent now, and I don't know what it is. I probably, thanks to guys like Trackwrestling that are putting out videos and sharing the stuff that, is happening across the globe. The international competition, we're actually getting to see guys like Kyle Snyder, 19-year-old, winning a world title. He's 20 years old, he wins Olympic gold. And we're seeing that now. Athletes are looking at it going, well, it's possible, because I actually saw it happen. Before they were just, they got a chance to read about it in a magazine and go, oh, yeah, they couldn't make that connection. Now they're actually seeing it, and then they get to rewind it and watch the video and go, that's how he did that. And for me, that's what it's all about. It's about allowing these athletes to be true martial artists and allow them to, look and steal art from other people, but create their own art, really. And that's what these young athletes are doing across the board. But particularly on paper, the Grecoroman junior world team is, on paper, is the best team I've ever seen. We have 2 returning medalists. I think there's another 3 or 4 guys that are capable of medaling this year besides our 2 returning. Super talented group of athletes. They came out here, they've been preparing really hard, working diligently, spending more time. And that's another key, I think, to the success that they're having and the level of proficiency they have in our sport, is that they are spending more time in different Greco-Roman immersion environments, whether it's the OTC or Northern Michigan, or getting overseas and spending months in Europe. So the guys that train with us here at the training center spent months in Europe training, competing against international opponents, and so we're getting more opportunities to do those type of things. And on top of that, like I said, they're getting more access to seeing this stuff happen in real time. And if they don't catch it in real time, they can go back and watch the videos, and it's all online. And it's open up your browser and boom, you got video in front of you. So it allows them to really absorb that information and use that stuff and grow from there.
Bringing Gary Mayab on board as the manager of Greco-Roman programs, what does that do for you?
It might be one of the best decisions I made so far as a head coach. Now, I love Gary. I've known Gary since '90s, early '90s. I've done camps for him when I was in Nebraska as an athlete. Did some more camps for Gary when I was a coach out there. I reached out to some of my other mentors like Mark Cody and just guys within the wrestling community and said, hey, so I'm thinking about hiring, and what do you think? And I got nothing but great recommendations. It's been hard because I've been managing all three programs, from cadets to juniors to senior athletes, and my emphasis really needs to be on the top level, the most elite level, and Gary needs to help. So we kind of meet in the middle somewhere. So, he needs to continue what I've started, laying that foundation. And the foundation really is getting athletes to commit full-time to Greco-Roman. And that's my goal. I think the days of dual athletes, the Greg Gibsons, are gone. I don't think we're going to see guys that are going to be able to make two teams and perform at a high level anymore. I think he was a world champion in Sambo, freestyle, and Greco-Roman, all of them. But I don't think that's going to happen anymore, especially when we're seeing, guys that are being really proficient at this younger age group, and they're being able to perform. The average age in just one quad, 2016, the average age of Olympic medalists went from 28. So that's post-grad. That's, okay, I graduated college, now I can start my international career, right? So, I'm sorry, it was 26, and now it went down to 22. So it dropped 4 years in 4 years. The average age of Olympic medalists and world medalists now is happening at a lot younger age. So we're going to see more guys do what Henry Cejudo did, what Kyle Snyder did. And the guys that don't start specializing in either freestyle or Greco-Roman, they choose to just stay in the kids level, the college age group level there. They're probably gonna get left behind, unfortunately, and their goals they're gonna go unrealized if their goals are really to be Olympic and world medalists. That they're not gonna have that opportunity as easily. I'm not saying it can't happen. You never tell somebody no. But I think that the younger athletes is the future of the sport.
While we're on that topic, what has impressed you about Colton Schultz?
What is Colton? I love him. He's one of my favorite students. What impresses me about Colton? What doesn't? Really that he knows what he wants. He's very goal orientated. He knows what he wants. He's willing to step out of his comfort zone in any situation. I mean, just a year ago, he was, getting beat up by Tracy and Robbie, and now, I mean, they can't score on him hardly. I mean, he's right there. I mean, he made the junior world team. He made the senior world team. We brought Mike Rogers out here last year, who was the junior world team member last year, who still had eligibility. He didn't show up at our trials this year, but I really feel like if he had, this Colton would still be on our team. Just from watching those two guys train together. So I've seen his level improve, just his positioning. But to ask me what impressed me, just his character, I think, is what impresses me the most, is his character as a person, and that's really important. If you want to be an elite level athlete, you have to have a strong foundation and character. So it says a lot about his family and the way he was raised.
Pretty interesting trip down to Brazil for the Pan Ams. You ever been in an arena that's caught on fire?
That was definitely a first, Andy. Ben Provisor was up next. I looked at it, I said, okay, 6 minutes. Those guys just stepped on. We're on deck. I'm gonna go take a leak. And as I turned around, I saw the flames, and I looked, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna go use that toilet. They hit it with a fire extinguisher. Well, first of all, they tried to pull the hose, and it wasn't attached, it wasn't turned on, it was just like a dummy hose there. They hit it with a fire extinguisher, the flames went about 30 feet high, and Ben and I looked at each other and goes, yeah, we should probably get out of here. I don't think you're up next, And we walked out of there, the building, everybody exited the building, and but it was Brazil. People were still able to steal your bag, your shoes, It was definitely a first, a lot of uncertainty what was going on. But you got to be able to deal with that, And they said, okay, we'll see you at 6 in the morning. We'll let you know what's going to happen. Are we going to have a tournament? Is it not going to be a tournament? Is it going to be in the arena? We're going to do it on the beach. I know we really didn't know until that morning, and then the guys had to go over there and compete. We grabbed our medals, got some guys off the podium, hotel, grabbed our bags, made it to the airport. We arrive, our flight's leaving in an hour, and I'm like, hey, we're up in an hour. Can you check this group? And she's like, oh, don't worry, you guys got plenty of time. I was like, well, typically you want to be here 2 hours before, and we're an hour before it, not before it boards, an hour before it departs, and they were fine with that. All right, no problem. But they're a little laid back in South America, and so I can appreciate that. I like it.
Anything else for us?
No, well, we had a pretty good training camp over in Hungary and a decent tournament in Tbilisi. We came home with 2 medals from Tbilisi, 2 silver medals, and had 2 outstanding weeks of training, very intense training in Hungary. And now we got 2 more weeks here in Colorado Springs before I bring in the entire national team for our final phase of training camp. Then we head over to Paris. So just continue to follow our progress on the mat.com, and of course 5 Point Move have been doing a great job for us, really promoting Greco-Roman wrestling in the United States. And then I repost everything on my Twitter, Matt Lindland, my social stuff, Coach Matt Lindland's my YouTube, and my Facebook. So thanks a lot, Andy.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Coach.
My pleasure.